Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Scully. Okay, so as we get into the long-awaited segment of this webinar, it is my honor to introduce to you today's speaker. Our guest is the branch manager at the Companies Office of Jamaica, Western Region Office. She is also a Justice of the Peace for Jamaica and the President-designate for the Kiwanis Club of Coastal Trelawney. Her impressive qualifications include an MBA from the Mona School of Business Management, UWI, Western Jamaica campus. She strongly believes in the words of Mahatma Gandhi, "Be the change you wish to see in the world." This belief is particularly fitting as we aim to make a positive change in the agribusiness sector today. By sharing the information prepared, we are taking a significant step toward this change. Without further delay, please join me in giving a virtual round of applause for our presenter, Mrs. Toni-Ann Stewart-Alexander. Welcome, Toni.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Let me just proceed to share my screen. Can you confirm that you're able to see my screen?
Yes, we are. You
Awesome.
can enlarge.
All right, let us begin. So today we'll be speaking about understanding business and companies and the registration that is required and your obligation. So about the presenter, this has already been, I've already been introduced, so thank you very much. About the Companies Office of Jamaica. So who are we? We are an executive agency and we were formerly a part of the Registrar General's Department. Now we fall under the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce, and we oversee two types of registration, companies as well as business names. We have two locations. We are located in Kingston at 1 Grenada Way, Kingston 5, and here in Montego Bay at the Annex Plaza in Fairview. And this is where I am the branch manager. So let us begin.
You've thought about it? Dreamt about it? Well, maybe you should just go ahead and do it. Whether you operate a large or small business, you must be registered with the Companies Office of Jamaica. Give your business the boost it deserves by registering today. Companies Office of Jamaica. Protection, freedom, commerce.
So when you're starting a business, it can be like walking through a maze. However, the secret is keep going. Once it is, you are going to see the finish line. Your journey to success starts with an idea. So now you just have to turn that idea into a business and make it count by registering with the Companies Office of Jamaica. So what are your benefits once it is that you have registered? One, you are able to advertise your business and your company. It shows that your business is actually legitimate. You are able to open a business bank account. You are able to access loans and grants. You're able to inspire confidence and goodwill, and your details about the business or the company, it is listed on the Companies Office of Jamaica website, and this website is accessible globally. So if it's a case where you are going to be having investors in the diaspora or outside of the diaspora, persons are able to go onto our website to see if you are actually a legitimate enterprise. So who should register? Anyone that is operating or buying or selling goods from an established place of business. So you must have a set location in order to be registered. Any individual or firm offering services from that established place of business in a name other than your own name. So for example, you have John Brown offering his services. John Brown by itself does not need to be registered. However, if John Brown is operating as John Brown Accounting or John Brown Associates, that specific name must be registered. And every company carrying on a business under a name other than its corporate name must also be registered. Example, Citrus Tradewinds is a corporate entity, and they are also trading as True Juice. Who does not need to be registered? Persons who are buying and selling livestock. It is not mandatory for you to come to the Companies Office of Jamaica to be registered, because you can simply register through RADA. Persons occupying public market stalls and paying market fees. These persons go through their local parish council. And firms established for social or welfare purposes, public services, religion, charity, education, whose income and profits are solely used for that purpose. It's not mandatory for these persons to be registered with the Companies Office of Jamaica, because they can simply register through the Department of Cooperatives and Friendly Societies as an unincorporated entity or a benevolent society. So first thing is first, once it is that you have a business that you want to operate under, the first thing you need to do is to choose the name that you want to operate under. Choosing a name is very critical. So you have to choose a unique name. Ensure it will not cause confusion in the marketplace. It's not going to be phonetically similar, sounding similar to your neighbor's business. So you can be a case where you're operating in Portland and you're operating as Jen's Farm, and then there's another Jen's Farm in Kingston. Though it is two separate locations, the name is similar, and as such, you have to choose a name that will differentiate you from the other person that is located in another parish. We avoid use of offensive words and words that will imply that you are in connection with the royal family or with a statutory agency or a political party. And the name in which you choose, if it's a case where it requires a professional license, then you would have to prove in terms of provision of your certification. Once it is certain names are used, certain words, are used in your name, such as engineering, cosmetologist, medical, those words are unique and as such would require some level of certification to be provided. So if it's a case where you want to see if your name is available, you can always come into office to do a name search. The cost for that search is $500. Or you can always check it on our website. So as mentioned a while ago, there are certain words that require justification. So if you're using words such as crown or princess or king or prince, you have to justify that name because it will denote as if you are part of the royal family. It's a case where you are using a name, then you have to justify it suggests that you are part of a government entity or the Commonwealth, or you're part of the statutories of the government or a foreign government, local or foreign government. Such words such as engineer, as well as medical, those names would also require justification in addition to certifications. So when you're choosing whether you want to do a limited liability company or you want to do a small business, you have to determine what is the best option for you. So you have to think about your personality. You have to think about your purpose, the purpose for which you're going to be opening this enterprise. It's going to be you want to start something small and then enlarge once it is that you realize you have been making a lot of money. You want to upgrade now to a limited liability company because the projects that you're undertaking may be a little risky and you want to protect your assets. You have to think about the management. Do you have persons to manage the affairs of the entity, or is it just you and your family alone? Is it something very small, a small family business? You have to think about your statutory requirements. If the monies that you are making is able to take care of all of the taxations to all the statutory governments. So for the company's office, you have an annual filing in addition to the tax office. Will you be able to satisfy these requirements? So the enterprise that you choose, you have to determine all of these. So let us start now with the business registration, which is a smaller structure. So this is a commercial enterprise registered under the Business Name Act of 1934, and it has the following features. It may be classified as a sole trader, which is a one-person business, or a partnership of 2 to 20 persons. It is not a separate legal entity, which means that the owner is the business and the business is the owner. There is no separate existence distinct from each person, the business or the individual. It may be classified as a company carrying on a business other than its corporate name or an overseas company carrying on business. It does not enjoy limited liability. So if you have a partnership of two of you coming into the partnership and one you decide that you no longer want to be a part of the partnership or you have a dispute, then that is the end of the partnership right there. And it does not have perpetual succession like the limited company. So as mentioned, if the partner decides that they want to exit the partnership, that is the end of the business structure as a partnership right there. And the partners are to be held equally liable depending on the partnership agreement that you may have. So partners are to ensure that they take part in all the management of the partnership. The property that is purchased under the name of the business is owned by the individual or the partners in common. It can be dissolved by one person giving notice. And the partners are agents of each other and the partnership. So say, for example, the business needs to be renewed. One person cannot just come in and say, okay, I'm going to sign renewal, because it is a partnership. And as such, it requires a signature of both persons all time. And if there are more than one partners, all persons are required to sign. So when it is that you register your business, the COJ guarantees that your certificate will be processed within, once it is properly completed, within 3 business days. And this is for Kingston, 5 business days in Montego Bay. The certificate is proof of registration and ownership of the business. It must be displayed in a conspicuous place within the business address. So not in the drawer of your home, not in the drawer at the business place, but just as how I've gone to several business places and I've seen the TCC up and all of these stuff in the hall where the patrons are able to see. The Companies Office of Jamaica certificate must be displayed as well. The certificate is renewable every 3 years. So for the business name, you must renew every 3 years. And the certificate will bear your registration number, your TRN, your NIS, you're registered for heart, as well as the NHT. So what is required when you are registering your business? You need the business registration form. You need your ID, your TRN, your proof of home address. And if you are non-CARICOM national, you need your work permit. And if it's a case where you are providing specialized services, such as medical or legal or pest control, or even beauty and barber salons, you need to provide proof certification. So these are examples of what you submit as your proof of home address: your voter's ID, your bank statement, your driver's license, your rent receipt, and a voluntary declaration signed by a justice of the peace. Proof of certification, who normally is required to submit? We have the cosmetologists, your medical professions, your lawyers, your accountants, your real estate developers, your retirement homes, early childhood schools. Those are required to provide proof of certification. Financial institutions, these are now required to be registered as limited liability companies as opposed to business names. So for non-CARICOM national, your marriage certificate, persons obtaining through the nationality through marriage, the original naturalized certificate, or a valid work permit issued by the Ministry of Labor and Social Security. And these are for non-Jamaicans and non-CARICOM nationals. So, as mentioned, you need the business registration form the form that is used for the business names. Cost to register a sole trader or a partnership of 2 to 5 persons, $2,500. There's a partnership of 6 to 20 persons, $5,000. If you are registering a branch at the initial stage of the registration, it is an extra $1,000. And if it is a business name that is owned by a limited liability company, which is also called a trading as, the cost to register is $3,000. We offer expedited services where you have same-day express at a cost of $3,000 or a next-day express at an additional cost of $1,500. So what are your obligations as a business owner? Every change that you make, whether it is to your business address, whether it is to the service that you're providing, or even the name that you are operating under, if you're making any one of those changes, then you must submit it on a BN5 form within 14 days of the change being done. It's a case where you are no longer operating or you have ceased operations and you have locked shop. You also need to advise us by providing the requisite closure form. And if the certificate is not expired, then you need to take in the certificate in addition to the closure form. And the cost to close is only $600. However, if you are making 3 major changes, such as the name, the address, as well as the service you're providing, which is the information that will be provided on the main certificate, then you would need to close that business name and reopen another one with the new changes that you would like to make. So closing your business, you need to notify us within 6 months of the closure. The BN6 form, $600 must be submitted with the form, and you need to return the certificate if it is not expired. So what are the penalties under the law in relation to your business? Non-registration is $15,000 or 3 months imprisonment. For non-registration of your changes, it is $5,000 or 3 months imprisonment. Falsifying information, $5,000 or 3 months imprisonment, or it can be both determined by the court. Failure to register or renew can be court closure in addition to criminal penalties. And remember, I mentioned about displaying your certificate in a conspicuous place. If you do not display your certificate, then the fine under the law is $2,000 or 3 months imprisonment. And for a company doing a trading as, the fine is $8,000 or 6 months imprisonment. And for a business that is not registered, but they like to advertise, the fine is $20,000 or 3 months imprisonment. So we're moving into the second enterprise, which is a larger enterprise, and this is the company incorporation. So what is a company? This is a commercial enterprise incorporated under the Companies Act of 2004. So this enterprise or this structure is a legal entity separate and apart from its members. So this entity is able to buy land, able to own a home, able to open a bank account, able to transact business. This artificial entity, which is known as a limited liability company. This enjoys perpetual succession. So therefore, a change in the membership, change in the director, change in the shareholders does not affect the existence of the company. So God forbid a director dies, the company can still go on. So you can just remove the person and you can always add a different person. It enjoys limited liability, which means the liability of its members is only limited to the extent of the shares that they have not paid for. So, and being an artificial entity, it can only be managed by natural persons, and these persons are called directors. The property that is purchased within the company's name is owned by the company, not the individual member. Remember, I mentioned that business name, anything purchased in the business is owned by the person that owns the business. This is different with a limited liability company, because the property that is bought by the company is owned by the company. And if the company is no longer operating, it needs to be wound up as per the companies, in accordance with the Companies Act. What is needed to register your limited liability company? You need the articles of incorporation. And this sets out the rules for running the internal affairs of the company. You need the business registration form. You need the beneficial owner return form, a valid government ID for all officers of the company. At least one responsible officer must possess a local TRN. And if it's a case where you're expecting a shipment, you need the bill of lading for the in order to get the TCC. Who are the persons within a company? You have the directors, you have the shareholders are the members, you have the company secretary, and you have the beneficial owners. So who is a director? So this is the person that manages the day-to-day operations and controls the affairs of the company and carries out the company's various obligations. The firm that only has 2 directors, one must act in the capacity of the secretary, unless you can have directors and you can have a third person acting in the capacity of the company secretary. But if you have only 1 director, you must have somebody else acting in the capacity of the company as a company secretary, because as the Act dictates, each company must have can have at least 1 director, but it must also have a company secretary. So the director is obligated to ensure that all obligations are met in terms of being delinquent for the company. So ensure that all the annual returns for the company's office is filed, ensure that all the statutories are filed with all the government entities, Who is the company secretary? This is the officer appointed by the director of the firm. This person is to ensure that all the legal obligations are complied with. So this person calls meetings, record minutes of the meeting, keeps statutory record books. They pay dividends once to the shareholders, and they pay interest payments. They're the ones that draft and execute agreements and contracts and resolutions. So those are some of the duties that will be executed by the company secretary. Who are the shareholders and who are the members? These are the individuals that actually own the company. They own shares within the company. or it's an individual who forms part of the company and is entitled to attend general meetings. Remember, you have both profit-making entity as well as non-profit entity. For profit-making entity, these are companies limited by shares. For the non-profit entities, these are companies limited by guarantee without a share capital. These would have members a part of their entity. And the duties of these shareholders or members, they attend the annual general meetings and the extraordinary meetings. And the voting is, and they're the ones who vote where key decisions are to be made. Who do we consider as a beneficial owner? So a beneficial owner can be an individual who exercises direct or indirect ultimate effective control through them being a director, as well as ultimate ownership of the company because they also have shares. Or it can be an individual who indirectly or directly exercise ultimate control by them being a director or them being able to determine the policies of the company. Or it can be an individual who directly or indirectly exercises ultimate ownership, which means that they can either have up 25 or 100% of the shares within the company. Or they can be persons who have effective control of the management of the company, such as the CEOs, the CFOs, or the general managers, or the chief operations officers. These are the persons who would have control of the management of the company. So when you are registered, when you incorporate a limited liability company, the certificate of incorporation brings the company into existence. So it is proof that the company does exist. It is normally done within 4 business days. Once it is that you have properly completed all the requisite forms, for Montego Bay, it is 7 business days. The certificate of incorporation will contain the registration number, the NIS, TRN, NHT, HART, and you will get a free 90-day TCC. And this is only applicable to new companies only. What is the cost to register a limited liability company? $27,500. We offer express service at an additional cost of $6,000 and next day service at an additional cost of $3,000. What is your obligation as a director or shareholder within the company? You must file an annual return every single year. The annual return sets out the particulars of the directors, the secretary, the shareholders, the shares, the registered address, all of these wonderful information. Each one, this document has to be filed every single year. The annual return, the first annual return is due on the anniversary date of the company's incorporation. So today is the 12th of September. If my company was incorporated today, the 12th of September, 2024, my first annual return will be due on the 12th of September, 2025. The Companies Office the Companies Act allows a grace period of 28 days to file your annual return before a late penalty of $2,000 is applied. So after your 28-day grace, you automatically will be fined a penalty of $1,000 if your annual return is not filed. What form is used? So for companies limited by shares or companies limited by guarantee with a share capital, the form 19A is used. The cost is $5,000 to file. The companies limited by guarantee without a share capital, the form 19B is used and the cost to file $2,000. For the beneficial owner return form A or B, the cost to file is $3,000. Remember, it's a case where the document is late, you'll face an additional $2,000 late. It's a case where you have changed your directors, Your Form 23 is required, and this must be filed within 14 days of the change. If you are changing your secretary, Form 20 is used, and this also must be filed within 14 days of the change. If you have moved from the registered address that you had given to us in corporation, you're no longer operating from that space, you need to file a Form 17, and it also must be filed within 14 days of the change of address. If it's a case where you have made changes to all of these and you did not file it within that 14 days, then an additional $2,000 will be applied as late penalty. As mentioned, the annual return Form 19A or B, as well as the BOR A or B, must be filed every single year. So you're no longer operating and you decide that you want to put up. You must ensure that all your annual returns or anything that you have outstanding to our office, all of that must be filed before you can be removed. You must request a letter. You must write a letter. So a letter must be submitted, signed by majority or all of the directors, indicating that the company is no longer operating and it has ceased to be in existence and it no longer has any assets or liabilities. You also need to submit a letter from an auditor or a chartered accountant certifying that the company no longer has any assets or liabilities. And if it's a case where the company still has assets or liabilities, all of those assets need to be liquidated before you can be removed. The removal fee must also be paid, and currently it is $4,500 in order to be removed. Penalties under the law for the limited liability companies. So if you file your documents late, $2,000. Failure to file your annual return, you can be fined up to $5 million. Failure to deliver the annual beneficial owner return form can result in a fine also up to $5 million, and the company can be struck after a year if the company still does not comply. So let us recap in relation to the difference between the company and the business. For the company, the owner or the operator bears all the risk. The company does not. The company enjoys perpetual succession. The business does not. The company enjoys limited liability. The business does not. The property belongs to the owners or operator of the entity in relation to the business, but for the limited liability company, the property is owned by the company. The companies must file an annual return every single year, but the business name, they file the renewal every 3 years. So, if you're serious about registering, you need to prove it by registering with the Companies Office Jamaica. We also offer registrations online as well, or you can also come into office to do your registration, whether in Montego Bay or at our Kingston location. So if you have questions, you can always go to our help. You go into our website. It's right here on the page, www.orcjamaica.com. If you go to the help tab, we have frequently asked questions and answers in relation to business names, questions and answers in relation to companies. Also, we have a how to tab, which assists you in terms of reserving a name, registering a business online. It provides you with how to videos, YouTube videos that you can also use as a guide in terms of creating an online account, how to register your business, as well as registering your limited liability company, how to restore your company, how to remove your company, how to renew your business, how to file your annual returns. All these are available under our tab, located also on our website. So this is our contact detail. If you want, you can take the information down. As mentioned, our website is www.orcjamaica.com. If you need any information in relation to the beneficial owner returns, we have another website, www.bohubjamaica.com. We're located on Twitter, Facebook, as well as Instagram. As such, you can follow us, you can like our pages, as well as you can get all the information as on our social media platform. This is also a resource agency in relation to business support. So after you have registered with the Companies Office of Jamaica, if you need assistance in relation to business support, you can always go to JBDC, JAMPRO, or SDC, financial support. We have the DBJ, the Exim Bank, tax obligations, tax office, charities, the Department of Cooperatives and Friendly Societies. In relation to agriculture, you have RADO. Export and import, you have the Jamaica Customs and the Trade Board. Intellectual property, you have the Jamaica Intellectual Property Office, which is also known as DIPO. Grant funding, you have the European Union, USAID, and the Caribbean Development Bank. So that is the end of my presentation today. I welcome your questions.
Thank you so much, Toni-Ann. That was a very, very informative presentation, as well as we can say it's a lot to take in at once. I'm sure you would agree. So we have quite a few questions. I'm going to start with one of the most popular ones that come on every webinar. And that is, will the presentation be published or made available to the attendees? Will you be able to share?
Well, the presentation itself, I'm not sure. Our public relations officer would have to make that determination in relation to the physical presentation, or it's a case where he or she would provide what do you call an alternate presentation with the same information.
Right, an alternative version. Okay, no problem. All right. There was a question early on in your presentation. Must the location be in Jamaica? Do you have to be in Jamaica to register your business with the Companies Office?
No, we also have an online platform. So therefore, you're able to use our online platform to register your business and or your company, and you can have the certificate mailed to you wherever you are.
Okay. Dave Vaz asks, what are the statutory requirements? I'm sure you went over that, but I'm not sure if you want to give a summary. What are the statutory requirements that are filed annually?
For the business or the company, for the business, you do not have a statutory requirement. For us, your certificate is valid for 3 years. So every 3 years, you do the renewal for a business name. For the limited liability company, you must file an annual return every year, along with the beneficial owner return form.
Okay. All right. So going back to the question we were asking earlier about Jamaica, being in Jamaica to register the business, the person asking to clarify, do they not only have to be in Jamaica, but is the business location needs to be here?
Yes, you must have a physical location in Jamaica.
Okay, awesome. So I'm sure that provides some clarity, Laura. Autumn is asking, how do you get a work permit before you register the company?
So if you're a non-CARICOM national, you would have to start the process with the Companies Office. It's just that the application will be rejected. What the Ministry of Labor and Social Security wants to see is that you have made the attempt to register the business, because the work permit will be in the proposed name that you are trying to register. So the application will be denied, indicating that your work permit is required. You're going to take that now to the Ministry of Labor so that they can start a process to process your work permit within that proposed name that you are trying to register. Once you get that work permit, you take it back to the Companies Office of Jamaica to continue the process.
Awesome. All right. Anderson is asking, are there any special provisions for farmers or agricultural businesses?
Not at the Companies Office of Jamaica.
Okay. No easier process?
No, it's just one process for all business owners or company company officers.
Okay. Alston is asking, what about registrations of associations?
So that can be registered with us as a limited liability company,
Mhm.
or as mentioned, you can go directly through the Department of Cooperatives and Friendly Societies. So what we encourage persons to do is to visit the Department of Cooperatives first,
Mhm.
you know, meet with them, talk with them, let them know exactly what your plans are in terms of your association, so that they can guide you a little better to determine whether you need to register it as an incorporated entity with the Companies Office of Jamaica, or you can register it as an unincorporated or benevolent society with them.
Okay.
So it might save you in terms of the annual fees.
Okay, and just to add that we will also be having the Department of Cooperatives and Friendly Societies as a presenter in one of these series. So if you're interested in forming an association, then that would be a good session for you.
And to add to the question before, in terms of benefits for the farmers,
Right.
certainly you're also going to have RADA as one of your speakers as well.
Mhm.
So therefore, they can ask them about the benefits where that part is concerned. Because remember, it's not mandatory, though it is that, you know, you're going to be getting your grants and your funding and those stuff. So you must be registered in order to have access to those. If
Right.
that's not your sole purpose, and you just want to be a small farmer and you want to go directly through RADA, that option is still available to you.
Okay, so while you're on that point, Dalton Hastings is asking, you spoke about individuals trading livestock. They do not have to register.
It's not mandatory to come through us.
But does it apply also for persons who are in other farm activities, such as the sale of plants, etc.? Crop production.
Yes. So farmers in general. So I made it a point of duty to Colorado yesterday because I got the same question at a previous agriculture presentation. So I spoke to RADA yesterday, and they did mention that so for the crop farmers, they need to have a square or more of one crop. And they would just need their ID and their TRN and the application form. They would just visit the location, verify the location, that it is actually in existence, and it is actually, they actually have a square foot or more. And then they'll pay $500 to start processing their RADA ID. And it takes up to 4 to 6 weeks. So, and they deal with crop farmers, livestock farmers, as well as bees and chickens and all of those stuff. So they did break down exactly what it would need. The process is still the same in terms of what is required of them. But depending on what you are providing, in terms of whether it is rabbits or cows or things like those, or small crops, then what is required may be different. But in terms of ID, TR, and the application form and the $500 for the RADA ID, processing of the RADA ID, that is mandatory right across the board.
Okay, so just to create some clarity, right? Because as you know, we're in the agribusiness sector, and we move from raw production upward to actually moving up the value chain, right? So where clarity is needed is that for our farmers, we have farmers starting from 5 acres up, right? RADA is the alternative, but is there a point in terms of the scale of production that you would say, okay, you would definitely need to be registered with the Companies Office of Jamaica?
No, that part is not determined by us in terms of a specific point. So it really depends on their purpose.
Right.
So if it's a case, remember, the larger you get, then you're going to start, you're going to want to advertise. You're going to want to be operating in a name other than your own name. You're going to want access to funding. You're going to want to open a bank account, because remember, everything now is in your personal name, in your personal account. You're going to have investors. right? That you may want to invest in your farm. You may want to ask the government for some subsidy or some assistance. So at that point in time, depending on when you realize that you're starting to escalate and your production is actually starting to expand, then that is when persons may determine, okay, I want to take that next step and go and get myself registered or formalized.
Right.
But if it's a case where RADA meets their needs, we can't determine that.
And they're not liable to be fined with that alternative.
No, so therefore RADA has indicated they would provide them with their IDs.
Okay.
To show that they are actually legitimate to provide that service. But once it is that they're operating in a name other than their own name, because right now, say for example, Joe Brown is the farmer that is registered with RADA. If he wants to put up a sign saying Joe Brown Farm, he has to be registered. It's mandatory.
Right. Okay, that provides a lot of clarity. A lot of clarity. All right. There's another question from Renee Brown. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing it properly. For an LLC, is a minimum 2 people?
Yes, it is. Director and company secretary.
Okay. How does this one is coming from Anderson again. How does the FSC new provisions regarding who can carry out trust and corporate, I think he's talking about cooperative services, affect the registration address, the registered address, sorry, that is used by businesses and companies?
I'm going to need clarity on that question in terms of the FSC.
Okay. All right. Would you want
because
him
I'm
to?
not sure I'm not sure what he is or Anderson is referring to. Not sure if he's a male or a female. So is it financial institution the person is talking about, or I'm not sure.
Well, just a mention of FSC, but I'm going to open his mic to allow him to explain. But before we get there, can the same person hold all the required positions for an application?
No. So you need to have at least one other person that you trust in the company. So if you want to hold the dual capacity of director and secretary, you must have somebody else acting in the capacity of director with you.
Okay. We have some very interesting questions. If you already work a 9 to 5 and are paying taxes, are you exempt from any business or company taxes?
Well, remember, that would be a tax-related query, but for us, no. You still remember, for us, it's just the renewal of your business name certificate, which is 2,500 every 3 years, pending you do it within the time frame.
Right.
Or for the company, you must file an annual return. So the Companies Office of Jamaica is not into your income or your expenses, or the information that we capture is in relation to just the name of the company, the director of the company secretary, the share capital, the share capital for the company, and the shareholders, and who the beneficial owners are. So therefore, anything deviating from that in relation to how much money you earn, how much money you spend, that is a tax-related query.
Okay. So get to the tax office. If I register as a sole trader, can I use the same business name to register as an LLC after a few years?
Yes, you may. You'd have to close the trading as name and upgrade or convert to a limited liability company. You still can use the same name.
Okay. I'm trying to find something here. Okay, I'm going to open your mic, Anderson, so that you can provide some clarity to that question. Just 1 second. Okay, Anderson, you can go ahead, unmute yourself, and you can ask your question directly. Okay, as it seems he doesn't want to speak, so he says that in the past, persons could just use any address as a registered address of the business or company. FSC is now saying that only licensed persons can offer this service.
I think he might be mixing it up. What he is referring to is what I'm thinking he's referring to is persons who are offering registration services. So like the corporate secretaries that register companies for persons, those have to be registered through the FSC. But that is still in the works in terms of having payments done and all of these stuff. So that is still being finalized as we speak. So in relation to, I'm not sure if that's what he's talking about, but that's the only thing I'm aware of. But in terms of must be registered through the FSC. But once it is that you're operating a business or a company, you must have a set location. But I can't understand why persons would register, say, for example, that they're operating in Portland and they know they're really in Negril, because that's really trying to circumvent the law, in my opinion. Right? And that might mislead the public to indicate, because if you indicate on record that your operations are on Main Street, Port Antonio, Portland, persons go and look for you to say, okay, I'm going on Main Street, Portland, and when they realize there's nothing there on Main Street, Portland, really and truly you're operating in the grill. So that is really misleading to the public.
Right. Does the company's office go out and do like a location verification before? No.
Before, no.
No. Okay.
But we do have compliance officers that go out once it is that we're providing a mobile within that month, depending on the area that we are providing the mobile services. Then our team will go out and assess and ensure that the location that we have on file, you are actually located at that specific address that you have indicated on file.
Okay. Okay, so there's some amount of confirmation in the process.
Yes, but that is when the compliance department goes out. But I'm also sure that the tax office also sends their field officers out in terms of address verification as well, when they're doing their compliance due diligence.
Okay, thank you. What about virtual business who only operate online and don't have a physical address?
So then remember, you might be home. So your physical address will be your home address. So we don't have on the registration, we don't say virtual business, right? So you must have a set location once you're operating under a name other than your own name. So even if you're operating online, then you can use your home address as your business, as your place of operation.
Okay.
And remember, it must be a local address.
Must be a local address. At all times, it's a local address.
Must be a local address.
Correct. Abigail is seeking some clarity. So she's saying that she said upgrade from a sole trader to LLC. That means you have to close the business, right?
Yes.
It's not a transition to LLC without closing. So you have to close one and then open.
Right, because you cannot have the same name on the entity on the register twice.
Oh, okay.
So you must close one and reopen as the other. And plus, you want to save yourself the cost, because remember, if you keep a business name on the register and you have a limited liability company, you're still going to be incurring charges under the business.
Right.
So therefore, it would be in your best interest to close one and also take that receipt and as well as write a letter and take it to the tax office to let them know that you are no longer operating, so that they can close. Because remember, as a sole proprietor, that would be the TRN that you get for the business is an extension of your personal TRN. And as such, it would be in your best interest to close out that account as well with the tax office.
Awesome. All right. So I'm sure that is very clear. And also the obligations, you don't want to have two sets of obligations. All right, so I've opened the mics. We have about 2 minutes left. If there are any more questions, we'll take them. What about the I'm thinking not-for-profit companies? Not-for-profit, hold on. Trying to get back to that question. Right. What about the not-for-profit companies or businesses? How does that work?
So the not-for-profit must be registered as a limited liability company first and foremost, not a business name. And this can be registered as an incorporation through the Companies Office of Jamaica, or you can go directly through the Department of Cooperatives and Friendly Societies. So as I mentioned, what would be best is to have dialogue with the Department of Cooperatives and Friendly Societies to see if it's a case where the proposed association that you want to provide for your community, if it is best suited to go through them as a benevolent society or an unincorporated company, or if you're going to come through the Companies Office of Jamaica, you register it on the Form 1B, Beneficial Owner Return Form B, and the Business Registration Form, the cost to register, $27,500 every single year. You have an annual return to file with the Companies Office of Jamaica, whether it is that the association or your is profitable or not, or you're providing charity services. These fees are mandatory every single year.
Okay, that's great. Misha is asking, I have 3 businesses and I want to form an LLC and have all businesses under one LLC. How would she go about that?
So regrettably, the company can only have one name. So therefore, you have to decide whether you want to find an umbrella name that you like, and then you open those 3 entities as trading as names under the limited liability company, or you do away with all of those business names and or maybe coin them together to create one unique name to call the limited liability company, and you can provide all the services that you're doing under the 3 businesses under one limited company.
Okay, Misha, I hope that helps. Anseline, you can go ahead, Anseline, you can ask your question.
All right, I was just posting it in the group. So I have a business that I do, but I only operate 1 day per week. It's a reading and comprehension room. So I operate from 9 until 3 on a Saturday. Can I still register that business? And how do I go about it? I missed most of the session because I got the information late about it.
So yes, you can still register once it is that you're operating under any name other than Anseline. What's your name? Anseline what?
Cunningham Dixon.
So if you're operating under a name other than Anseline Cunningham Dixon, then yes, you must be registered. But if it's a case, you said you're operating once for the week, regardless, you still would need to register with the Companies Office of Jamaica. You say you offer reading?
Yes, reading and comprehension interventions.
Okay. What is the age group you're working with?
It depends on, I start with, all right, so I go from age 4. Most of the time it's a 5 and upward. I don't have an age limit. Once the person is struggling or having issues with reading and comprehension, I do that intervention.
All right, so if, say, for example, you're registering a business and you just indicate literacy, right?
Yeah.
Literacy intervention without indicating the specific age group that you're catering to,
Yeah.
then you are able to do so, and the cost is only $2,500.
Right.
However, if you indicate that you are providing literacy services to a specific age group in which for children, that's where early childhood is going to come in.
Right.
So once babies are involved and once you're providing anything relating to school and babies are involved, then you have to register through the Early Childhood Commission from the Ministry of Education.
Or
Mhm.
so I get that. So even though I would still interact with early childhood students because I don't have a set age group, I can just go ahead and register with the company. But if I'm
With the
going to
business?
with the business, right? But if I'm going to just stick to the early childhood years, then I'd have to register with ECC.
That is correct. But even if you do not stick to that age group, but they are included in the set, you still would need to be registered.
With early child commission as well.
Once the babies are involved, yes.
All right, so that means I'm going to have to speak with them. All right, thank you very much.
You're certainly welcome.
Okay, so we're 4 minutes over schedule time, Tony. So I'm going to ask you to just spare us 1 more minute to answer this question or provide some clarity to this question. But before I get to the question, the contact page, I think it's the slide before this one. Right. Right, the contact page. Right. So guys, you can screenshot the contact details. But while you're screenshotting, Abigail is asking, adding to Misha's question that was answered earlier, what if Misha wants to open separate businesses and have one head company that own all 3? For clarity, the head company has majority shares in all 3 businesses.
All right. So businesses do not have shares at all. So let's just get that clear. So a business is owned by an individual person or as a partnership with persons, or it can be a limited liability company owning that name. So the company can own a trading as name. So the 3 entities that you have, the 3 businesses that you currently have, you can either one, if you want to take it from you, the individual, and put it under the limited liability company, you have to create the limited liability company first as a different name altogether then, and then close those 3 business names under you, the individual, and reopen them under the limited liability company. So what is going to happen is that, say, for example, the company is named Abigail Enterprise Limited, right? So Abigail Enterprise Limited now owns Abigail Trucking, Abigail Haulage, Abigail Services. Example, right? So there is no shares that Abigail Enterprise Limited is going to be owning under the trading as names. The company in and of itself will have a shareholder. Abigail will be that shareholder, if she's a shareholder, within Abigail Enterprise Limited. So if Abigail is the only shareholder in that company, then Abigail will be the sole shareholder in the company. Abigail can be the sole director in the company. Abigail just needs to have a friend that she trusts that can be the company secretary with her. But Abigail Enterprise Limited will own the 3 business names that I just mentioned before: Abigail Haulage, Abigail Trucking, Abigail Services. If these business names want to have different TRNs, and it's just that's going to still be owned by the company, then she's able to complete that on the form that these are operating at totally different locations from Abigail Enterprise Limited. Was that a little bit clearer?
Was that clearer, Abigail? While we wait on Abigail to answer, could you put your slide to the supporting entities? For those who are asking about the recording, the session is being recorded, and once we have checked to see if everything is okay and the video can be shared, it will be shared on our YouTube channel. Okay, let me just check if Abigail responded.
Do you want to take out
Okay,
those lines in the, do you want to
she's
take out
clear.
those lines from the resource agency? I think somebody was marking the screen earlier,
Oh. I'm not
so
even
that the
sure
persons
how
are
to
able to
remove
take a better
this.
picture.
I'm not sure how to remove the lines.
Hello?
Go ahead, do you have a question?
No, actually, I'm just joining the meeting. I'm late, so I was wondering if I missed it or
Yes, you missed it.
how.
We're
Yeah.
currently wrapping up, but the YouTube
Oh,
channel,
yes.
right, there will be a replay. Once we've identified that everything is okay with the recording, the recording will be posted to our YouTube channel.
Oh, sure. Okay, thanks. Sorry about that.
You're welcome.
So,
Okay, thank you so much, Tony. You have, go ahead.
sorry. No, I was just wondering how would I know when the YouTube channel become available?
Okay, so all the
Or how do I,
invitees will be, all the invitees will be
access?
informed via your email address. So we'll send you the
Okay,
YouTube channel, the link and all, once we have
yes.
uploaded the video.
All right, I appreciate that. Can I ask you another question?
Go ahead. You're breaking up. I'm unable to hear you clearly.
I am particularly, I'm in agro-processing. I'm an agro-processor.
Right.
And I also want to get in hydroponics. So I was wondering if what I missed in the meeting is something that you could address, or it will be addressed once I see the YouTube. Is it something that you can address or was addressed?
You're going into hydroponics as you're starting a business within that area?
Yes, I want to start in hydroponics, but I'm presently in agro-processing. I do cassava products and stuff like that, and castor oil, etc.
And do you have
So my
registered the agro-processing
question
business?
was the meeting? Yes, man, it's already started. I want to know at what point I can engage you, or how can we work to how can I get in touch with you guys to get going, that sort of, I
Okay,
don't know
you
if this is the
you
right
can contact this session is about business registration. So if
Yes.
it's something else as it relates to investment, you can contact us here at Agro-Invest.
Okay then. All
Okay.
right. So looking forward to the YouTube.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, Tony, we're way over time, but there's one last question that I want to ask. Does the structure for the corp only stop at LLC? What about like C corps, S corps, stuff like that?
It only stops at LLC right now. So until the act is passed for those structures, these are the only ones that we currently register.
Okay. Okay, Neil, that was Neil's question.
No
Thank you
problem.
so much, Tony. On behalf of the team here at Agro-Invest, we'd love to take this opportunity to thank you so much for partnering with us and, being here today to provide such valuable information to the attendees of this webinar. I'm sure you'll be getting a lot more questions, and if the questions come to us, we'll forward them to you. Well, thank you so much on behalf of Agro-Invest, and to all the participants here, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us today. We do appreciate it. And with that said, that's the end of our session. Again, once we have identified that everything is well with the recording, you will receive an email as soon as the recording is uploaded to our YouTube channel. Do have yourselves a wonderful day.